Lynette.
Good evening, Ampul.
Now, what businesses were at the meeting and what came out of it?
It wasn't only a purely business meeting. We had representatives from civil society, ambassadors, media, as well as government. We had a very senior official there from the ANC. It was more of a dialogue session between all stakeholders to look at how do we address this issue. Obviously, business has been impacted quite seriously, but it was more about how do we start working together with the stakeholders.
And what sort of ideas were people coming up with?
Well, there was a great call for more of a coordinated approach, particularly from business. There was also a call for more and deeper interaction with government and particularly the ANC. They also had requested that we revisit the South Africa's African peer review mechanism report, which in 2007 had indicated that xenophobia was one of the issues to be addressed in this country. And through those recommendations, I think we need to revisit them to look at what we can do on a very practical basis. There were some really good ideas that came out around educating our youth and our children from an early stage around Africa, and not only focus on our South African history, but really to understand more about the continent. There was also a call around understanding that there are many causes of this, from unemployment to criminal elements, etc. But largely and on the whole, that this has been caused by a few thousand or a few hundred people in South Africa, and that by and large South Africans are not anti-African as such. And so I think we came out with a very positive outcome. We have an action plan that has started to be developed, and we will certainly continue the dialogue on the forum. There was a huge call and a need for voices to be heard through continued discussions, and so certainly we will partner with those organisations that were there and others that may want to join to look at how we can address this in the long term.
Now, Lynette, in your position, I know you talk to a lot of different African countries. After what has happened with all this violence, what sense do you get when you speak to African peers about how they feel about the situation in South Africa, and has it really materially spoiled things for South African business?
Well, certainly there's a lot of fear. I had met with a gentleman who came to our offices yesterday from Tanzania, and when he actually asked his boss, is it okay to come to South Africa given all the violence? And obviously when he was here, he realized that it's happening in pockets. So I think that there is a lot of misperception, miscommunication. The ambassador of South Sudan gave his experience of how in South Sudan they've had their own challenges and how they had to almost do a citizen education program around accepting migrants from across borders, etc. And so I think that there is a lot that we can learn from other countries. On a business level, there has been serious impact. We saw Sasol recalling 350 employees the other day. Of course, that impacts on their bottom line. Again, threats of boycotting South African products has a serious implication.
And in terms of business itself, how is it going about those businesses that are operating in other African countries? Are they communicating directly with governments, with people, with NGOs to say that, look, what's happened in South Africa is not reflective of us all? What are they doing on the continent?
So I think certainly through their own channels, they have been communicating with their own operations across the continent. But certainly this is why this platform that we initiated today was needed. I think that the companies haven't been quite sure how to address things and what to say. And so this platform will provide that, and also as a conduit for discussions with government and other stakeholders. So that was the one clear thing that came out, was a more coordinated and enhanced communication strategy. So we are going to be working with organisations like Brand SA, Lead SA was there today as well, around how do we communicate the clear message that South Africa and South Africa's government does not condone this behaviour.
Very succinctly, Lynette, the AU wants us to become one, the Pan-African dream. Can we get there when things like this happen?
There are certainly challenges, and Africa's history, as you have seen, we started off as one, we were then divided through colonial rule. It's going to take a while to become one, and I think that we should not waste the opportunity that Africa has had a lot of investment over the last decade, that this is the time for Africa to rise and become one, because most countries do not have colonial rule any longer. It's for us to assert our independence and our interdependence upon each other, and to create inter-Africa trade.
I'm going to leave it on that positive note. Thank you so much. That was Lynette Chen. She's the CEO of the NEPAD Business Foundation.